Welcome back, basketball fans, to another massive deep dive into the heart of the Philippine Basketball Association. Today, we have two absolutely explosive storylines dominating the PBA Commissioner's Cup landscape, and we are going to unpack every single detail, every tactical nuance, and every behind-the-scenes reality that led to this moment. We are talking about high-stakes drama, coaching masterclasses, the crushing weight of expectations, and the beautiful, timeless fundamentals of the game of basketball. Our first major headline centers around a situation that has sent absolute shockwaves through the entire league, social media, and basketball circles worldwide. It is a storyline nobody saw coming when the tournament began. We are talking about the defending champions, the TNT Tropang Giga, their legendary and highly demanding head coach Reyes, and their marquee import, the 7'3" former NBA phenom, Bol Bol. The headline blazing across every sports page today is that Bol Bol was benched, or as the internet has aggressively dubbed it, banked and filled, during one of the most critical stretches of basketball TNT has played this season. This wasn't just a routine substitution. This was a massive, calculated, and deeply revealing tactical decision by Coach Reyes during a catastrophic collapse against the Meralco Bolts. We are going to dissect exactly what happened when TNT blew a staggering 20-point lead, why Reyes decided to pull his most talented player off the floor in the third and fourth quarters, and what this means for the future of the so-called unicorn in the highly physical, relentlessly unforgiving arena of Philippine basketball. But that is only half of our show today. On the other side of the PBA universe, we are witnessing a beautiful renaissance of basketball purity. We are talking about the lethal weapon himself, Paul Lee of the Magnolia Hotshots. Following a disastrous 0-3 start to the conference, Magnolia has suddenly come alive, grabbing back-to-back crucial victories, including a defensive masterclass against Terra Firma. And at the center of this resurgence is Paul Lee, who has been opening up about his evolution as a player and embracing his identity as a true banker. And no, we are not talking about finance. We are talking about the absolute mastery of the bank shot. We are going to take a magnifying glass to Paul Lee's game, exploring how he has prolonged his elite status in the league by utilizing the glass, defying the modern obsession with analytics and deep threes, and relying on a fundamental skill that connects him to the greatest legends of the sport. These two stories might seem completely different on the surface. One is about a genetically gifted giant struggling to adapt to a new system and being disciplined by a championship coach. The other is about an aging veteran guard who has perfected the subtle geometries of the court to remain a deadly force. But at their core, both of these narratives are about the very essence of basketball. They are about adaptation, basketball IQ, the harsh realities of team dynamics, and what it truly takes to win at the highest level of competition. Think about the sheer magnitude of Bol Bol arriving in the PBA. When it was announced that a player of his caliber, with his wingspan, his shooting touch, and his NBA pedigree, was coming to Manila to suit up for the Tropang Giga, the expectations were astronomical. Fans envisioned him dropping 50 points a night, blocking every shot at the rim, and carrying TNT to an effortless repeat championship. And to be fair, his statistical output has been nothing short of monstrous at times. We saw him drop 40 points and 15 rebounds against NLEX. We saw him put up 34 and 18 against San Miguel, going toe-to-toe with the Kraken himself, Junmar Fajardo. But basketball, especially in the PBA, is not played on a spreadsheet. It is not just about accumulating numbers. It is about how those numbers translate into winning basketball, how an import elevates the local roster, and how seamlessly a player can integrate into a demanding offensive system. And that brings us to the crucial breaking point against the Meralco Bolts. TNT came into that game looking invincible, building a massive 20-point lead. It looked like a blowout. It looked like a statement game. But then, the unthinkable happened. The offense stagnated. The defense completely broke down. And Coach Reyes, a man who has won countless championships by demanding absolute adherence to his system, looked at his 7'3" superstar and told him to sit down. He banked him. He left him on the bench while the Meralco Bolts, led by their fundamentally sound and team-oriented import Marvin Jones, methodically erased the deficit. Why did this happen? What was the breaking point? Was it a lack of defensive effort? Was it an over-reliance on isolation basketball? Was it a failure to grasp the physical, gritty nature of the PBA where no fouls are given easily? Coach Reyes has been exceptionally vocal about the learning curve Bol Bol is facing. He has publicly stated that while the effort is there, Bol still needs to figure out how to truly play in the PBA. He has even compared Bol's defensive instincts to their former import, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, noting a massive gap in defensive feel and awareness. This is a story of a clash of basketball cultures, a story of a coach trying to mold a raw superstar, and a story of a player realizing that sheer talent is not always enough to conquer a league known for its relentless physicality and tactical warfare. Meanwhile, Paul Lee's narrative provides the perfect counterweight. Here is a player who doesn't have a 7-foot wingspan. He doesn't have the highest vertical leap. But what he possesses is an almost supernatural understanding of angles, timing, and rhythm. By embracing the banker lifestyle, by utilizing the backboard with surgical precision, Paul Lee is teaching a masterclass in basketball survival and evolution. He is showing every young guard in the country that you don't need to shoot from 30 feet out to be lethal. Sometimes, the most unstoppable weapon is a perfectly angled 15-foot bank shot that leaves the defense absolutely helpless. So, buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and get ready, because we are about to go incredibly deep into the film, the quotes, the history, and the tactics. This is not just a recap. This is a comprehensive basketball education. Let's dive right in. Let us start by unraveling the complex, fascinating, and currently turbulent situation surrounding Bol Bol and the TNT Tropang Giga. To truly understand why a player of Bol Bol's immense talent was benched during a critical juncture of a pivotal game, we have to zoom out and look at the ecosystem he has entered. The Philippine Basketball Association is an incredibly unique league. It is arguably the most physical professional basketball league outside of the old-school NBA. Imports who come to the PBA expecting a glorified exhibition match or an easy opportunity to pad their stats are routinely met with a rude awakening. You are double-teamed. You are bumped off your spots. The referees allow a level of contact in the paint that would result in flagrant fouls in other leagues. And above all, you are expected to be the ultimate problem solver for your team without disrupting the flow of the local players. Bol Bol arrived with a reputation that preceded him. The son of the legendary Manuta Bol, a player who possessed guard skills trapped in a center's body, a player who could hit the three, put the ball on the floor, and block shots into the third row. When he debuted, the sheer visual of him on a PBA court was staggering. But Reyes is not a coach who is easily mesmerized by pure potential or flashy isolation plays. Reyes is a system coach. He relies heavily on spacing, rapid ball movement, cutting, and defensive rotations. If you look at TNT's most successful runs recently, they were spearheaded by Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, a player who might not have Bol's raw scoring touch from the outside, but who possessed an absolute masterclass-level understanding of defensive rotations, help-side instincts, and unselfish playmaking. Coach Reyes made a very telling comment recently. He explicitly pointed out the defensive gap between Bol Bol and RHJ. He noted that Bol has to improve his instincts and his feel for the game on the defensive end. This is a monumental statement. It tells you that while Bol might be getting blocks simply because of his height, he is likely missing rotations, failing to hedge correctly on pick-and-rolls, or losing his man off the ball. In Reyes' system, one missed rotation compromises the entire defensive shell. Now, let us transport ourselves to the Ninoy Aquino Stadium, April 7, 2026. TNT versus Meralco. The Tropang Giga jump out to a commanding 20-point lead. Everything seems to be clicking. Bol Bol is putting up numbers. But then, the momentum shifts. Meralco, a notoriously gritty and resilient franchise, starts chipping away. This is where the psychology of basketball comes into play. According to Marvin Jones, Meralco's import, when a team gets up by 20 points, they often start to play uncomfortable. They deviate from the system. They start taking bad shots, trying to put the final nail in the coffin through hero ball rather than trusting the offense that built the lead in the first place. As Meralco surged back, Coach Reyes watched his team's execution crumble. And what did he do? He made the incredibly controversial and heavily scrutinized decision to bench Bol Bol for most of the third quarter and the early part of the fourth. He banked him. He sat him down. Why? Because when the system breaks down, a coach needs players on the floor who will stabilize the offense, move the ball, and execute defensively. If an import is demanding the ball in isolation, stopping the flow of the offense, or failing to sprint back on transition defense while complaining about non-calls, a championship-level coach will pull the plug, regardless of the player's name or salary. This benching is a massive wake-up call. It is a loud, undeniable message from Reyes to Bol Bol. Your talent does not exempt you from the rules of this team. We win as a collective, or we lose as a collective. Morocco's import, Marvin Jones, provided a stark contrast to Bol Bol's style in this very game. After dropping 29 points and 12 rebounds, outplaying Bol in crucial stretches, Jones said something incredibly profound in the post-game interview. He said, and I quote, "I don't make it about a one-on-one match. I don't know how to play basketball that way. I'm used to playing a team game like in Europe. You share the ball, you move the ball, and that's the philosophy here." That quote is the ultimate indictment of isolation-heavy basketball. Jones understood that beating TNT wasn't about outscoring Bol Bol individually. It was about integrating himself into Morocco's system, empowering players like CJ Cancino and Raymond Almazan, and trusting the ball movement. When Bol Bol finally returned to the game late in the fourth quarter, the pressure was immense. TNT was trailing 107-105. The game was on the line. The ball was in Bol Bol's hands. He had the opportunity to be the hero, to validate his superstar status, to hit the tying or go-ahead basket. Instead, he committed a crucial, game-sealing turnover. That turnover is a microcosm of his current struggles. In the clutch, when the defense tightens up and the physical pressure reaches its absolute peak, you cannot rely solely on natural ability. You have to rely on execution, on reading the defense, on making the simple, correct basketball play. Bol Bol is still adjusting to the PBA style of play. Coach Reyes has admitted it. The veteran players know it. The question now is, will Bol Bol humble himself to the process? Will he watch the film, accept the harsh coaching, and transform from a statistical giant into a winning basketball player? The Tropang Giga are now sitting at 2 wins and 2 losses. The honeymoon phase is officially over. The league has a scouting report on him. They know he doesn't like physicality. They know he can be rattled. The coming weeks will define Bol Bol's legacy in the Philippines. Will he be remembered as a spectacular statistical anomaly who couldn't win, or will he evolve into the unstoppable force he was always meant to be? Now, let us completely shift gears and move from a story of raw, unrefined potential to a story of absolute, polished mastery. We need to talk about Paul Lee and his remarkable transformation into the PBA's ultimate banker. The Magnolia Hotshots found themselves in a terrifying hole at the start of the Commissioner's Cup, dropping their first 3 games. Panic was beginning to set in. But under the leadership of head coach L.A. Tenorio, they have begun to right the ship, securing back-to-back victories, the latest being a dominant 85-70 suffocation of Terra Firma. Coach Tenorio made it abundantly clear that the turnaround is entirely predicated on defense. But on the offensive side of the ball, while their import Clint Chapman has been doing heavy lifting, it is the veteran savvy of Paul Lee that is capturing the imagination of basketball purists everywhere. Paul Lee, known for years as the lethal weapon, a guy who possessed absolute streetball bravado, deep three-point range, and an uncanny ability to finish through contact, is getting older. His athleticism is not what it was a decade ago when he was tearing through the league with rain or shine. Injuries have taken their toll. The game has gotten faster. But instead of fading into obscurity, Paul Lee has adapted. He has dug deep into the ancient archives of basketball fundamentals and resurrected the bank shot. When Paul Lee talks about being a banker, he is talking about an elite level of court geometry. Think about the modern game of basketball. It has become obsessed with the three-point line and the restricted area. The mid-range game is often derided as inefficient. And the bank shot? The bank shot is almost viewed as a lost relic, a dusty antique associated with the 1950s or the legendary career of Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. But Paul Lee understands what the analytics often miss. The bank shot, when mastered, is one of the highest percentage shots in the sport, especially from certain angles on the floor. Why is the bank shot so incredibly effective? It all comes down to physics and margin of error. When you shoot a traditional swish jump shot, the target you are aiming for, the center of the hoop, is essentially an 18-inch circle suspended 10 feet in the air. Your trajectory and your touch have to be absolutely perfect. But when you use the backboard, you are fundamentally changing the physics of the shot. You are aiming at a vertical target, the painted square on the glass. When the ball hits that glass, it absorbs the kinetic energy of the basketball, slowing it down and redirecting it downward directly into the cylinder. The backboard acts as a giant funnel. For a guard like Paul Lee, who often finds himself navigating through massive trees in the paint or pulling up off the dribble while contested by younger, faster defenders, the bank shot is a literal lifesaver. He doesn't need perfect balance to hit it. He can be floating sideways, he can be leaning backward, he can be taking contact. As long as he can locate his spot on the glass, the ball is going in. It requires an insane amount of touch, muscle memory, and spatial awareness. You have to know exactly where you are on the floor without looking down. You have to calculate the angle of approach in milliseconds. Paul Lee has weaponized this fundamental skill. Defenders know he wants to shoot it, but they can't stop it because the release point and the target are completely different from a normal jump shot. If a defender tries to block a bank shot, they often have to jump across the shooter's body, risking a foul. This is the beauty of veteran intelligence. While young players are spending hours in the gym practicing 30-foot step-back threes, Paul Lee is systematically destroying defenses with a shot you learn in middle school, executed at a masterclass professional level. There is an incredible symmetry between these two storylines. On one hand, you have Bol Bol, a player gifted with every physical advantage imaginable, height, length, shooting touch, struggling because he is relying too heavily on his physical gifts and not enough on the cerebral, team-oriented aspects of the game. He is fighting against the system, and as a result, he finds himself benched by a coach who demands execution over highlight reels. On the other hand, you have Paul Lee, a player whose physical gifts are declining, thriving because he has completely surrendered to the cerebral aspect of the game. He has recognized his limitations and developed a hyper-specific, fundamental skill that allows him to outsmart defenders who can outjump and outrun him. He isn't fighting the game, he is manipulating it. This is the absolute magic of the Philippine Basketball Association. It is a crucible where talent is tested against grit, where NBA pedigrees are humbled by local veterans, and where the mind is just as important as the body. Bol Bol has the potential to absolutely dominate this league and lead TNT to a championship, but only if he learns the lesson that Marvin Jones and Reyes are trying to teach him. Basketball is a 5-on-5 sport. And Paul Lee, the ultimate banker, stands as a shining testament to the fact that true lethality doesn't always come from jumping out of the gym. Sometimes, it comes from knowing exactly how to use the glass. As we look ahead to the rest of the PBA Commissioner's Cup, the storylines are laid out perfectly. For the TNT Tropang Giga, they are standing at a critical crossroads. 2 wins, 2 losses. The defending champions look vulnerable. The relationship between head coach Reyes and his superstar import Bol Bol is going to be the most scrutinized dynamic in the entire country. Will we see a humbled, refocused Bol Bol in their next game? Will we see him setting solid screens, making the extra pass, rolling hard to the rim, and anchoring the defense the way RHJ used to? Or will we see continued frustration, forced isolation plays, and more time sitting on the bench? Coach Reyes has drawn a line in the sand. He has proven that nobody is above the team concept. The ball is now firmly in Bol Bol's court to respond. And for the Magnolia Hotshots, the dark clouds of that 0-3 start are finally starting to part. With their defense tightening up under L.A. Tenorio, and their import Clint Chapman finding his rhythm alongside Zav Lucero, they are slowly morphing back into the contender everyone expected them to be. But the heart and soul of that offense in clutch situations will continue to be the lethal weapon, Paul Lee. Every time he crosses the half-court line, defenders are going to have to make a terrifying choice. Step up and guard the deep 3, or give him space and watch him calmly deposit a 15-foot bank shot off the glass to break their hearts. He has shown that being a banker in the PBA is one of the most profitable decisions a veteran can make. The beauty of this league is that the narrative changes every single night. New heroes emerge, established stars are tested, and the game constantly evolves while still honoring its fundamental roots. We are going to be tracking every single possession, every coaching decision, and every post-game quote as this Commissioner's Cup heats up. Thank you so much for joining me on this massive deep dive into the state of the PBA. If you appreciate this level of intense, detailed basketball analysis, do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breakdown. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you agree with Reyes benching Bol Bol during a critical comeback by Meralco? Does Bol Bol have what it takes to adjust to the PBA style, or is this experiment doomed to fail? And where does Paul Lee's bank shot rank among the most unstoppable signature moves in PBA history? Drop your thoughts, keep the debate going, and I will see you all in the next video. Keep loving the game.